Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Swedish Health and Wellness program here at EXPO 2020 in Dubai. Good morning to you here in Dubai. Extra early good morning to you following us virtually from Europe and other parts of the world. And I guess good evening to other parts of the world also following us. Today we hope that you all will be engaged in the different questions that we will discuss. So before I introduce today, I would like you to use this QR code and scan it with your phone and answer the first question. And I will wait while you do that. So the first question is quite easy, actually. It's which country are you from? So it's a good warm-up, I think. Let's see. You seem to be answering. Yeah, quite a lot of different time zones on here, so that's that's good. That's great. And what a good sign of this international collaboration that will be the theme of today as well. And you will get the second question if you go into Menti directly, and that might be a bit trickier to answer, but we are very curious on your view on this, because the theme of this whole day is eliminating cancer as a life-threatening disease for future generations. And we simply wonder, in the beginning of the day, is do you think that cancer will be eliminated as a life-threatening disease in the future? And while you are answering that question, well, we stay here, see what you think. By 2030, do you think cancer has been transformed from a deadly to curable or chronic disease? Yeah. I imagine that some of you on the no side here think of all cancers as well. So this is it's a tricky question, right? You don't really know. But this is very optimistic, I would say, but interesting. 22 yes, 11 no's by now. We will see how this ends up in the end of the day. You will get the same question later today. Anyhow, the chance to survive if you get cancer is significantly larger today than it was in 10 or 15 years ago. Medical science as well as technology is getting more sophisticated and precise, and we see the development of new and innovative treatments, which is obviously good news for patients. But it is key to develop not only new innovative treatments, but also to develop the whole chain, from prevention through early detection and diagnosis to access to treatments and follow-up. And it takes strong leadership, and it takes robust financial and administrative structures to transform cancer from into a chronic or curable disease. And that will be the theme of today. We will have focus on what is possible to do and possible to achieve already today, and what is needed in order to get all visions to come true in the future. And to set the scene and kick us off, I would like to welcome our first speaker, which is Professor Hans Hägglund, who is the National Cancer Coordinator in Sweden and also chair of Vision Zero Cancer. Please welcome Hans.
Dear Excellencies, dear ladies, dear gentlemen. I'm honored to open up this cancer event by Sweden today, and I'm also delighted to take part in the Swedish healthcare delegation to United Arab Emirates and the conference in the Swedish pavilion here at EXPO 2020. Solving global societal challenges like cancer or COVID-19 requires research, innovation, and cooperation between many sectors. 30 years ago, when I was a younger doctor, I was fortunate to start my career at the Department of Transplantation Surgery. This was at Karolinska Hospital, and it was a very innovative milieu. So my former boss, Carl Gustav Groth, and his team had at that time performed the first liver transplant, the first pancreas transplant, and the first bone marrow transplant. Later on, he also performed the first islet transplant and the first gut transplant. Professor Groth's vision was to create a pig farm outside the hospital building. And this was to using the pig organs for xenotransplantation, transplantation of organs between species. Just recently, 30 years later, the first gene-modified pig to human cardiac transplant have been performed. 30 years ago, we used the big hammer to treat patients before a bone marrow transplantation. This means that we use lethal doses of irradiation and lethal doses of chemotherapy before the transplantation, because we thought at that time that this was needed for a successful transplantation. Today, we know better. It is the donor immune system with B cells, with T cells, with NK cells that attack the tumor and cure the patient. It's not the big hammer. A blood stem cell transplantation, which now has been done for more than 50 years, is one example of advanced immunotherapy. 2018, the Nobel Prize was given for the development of immunotherapy, which paved the way for use of different drugs to stimulate the immune system as a part of treatment of cancer. And I think this is the future of cancer treatment. In the early 90s, when I started my career as a doctor, approximately 30 to 40% of the cancer patients in Sweden were alive 10 years after the diagnosis. Today, more than 70% of the adults and more than 85% of the children are long-term survivors. This means around 30% improved results over 30 years. However, it is still approximately 30% improvement needed to reach 100% survival. And I think, and I hope this can be reached, and hopefully faster than within 30 more years. To be successful, we need to collaborate, we need cooperation, we need co-creation. Politicians, healthcare, patient, academia, and others have to work together. And collaboration is also needed between developed and less developed countries for a more equal care globally. Leadership, strategic thinking, and a visionary mindset will help us to reach the Vision Zero Cancer. Cancer is one of the world's greatest challenges. Cancer is a disease that does not discriminate. It affects individuals alike across different geographical, social, and financial settings. The growing burden of cancer is a major public threat, which no healthcare system seems sufficiently prepared to tackle alone. The COVID-19 pandemic has challenged the healthcare system around the world, putting high pressure on capacities and resources. this is also a threat to cancer control. At the same time, the pandemic has also created a unique opportunity to redefine healthcare. It has shown healthcare systems and societies resilience and potential to adapt rapidly to changing circumstances, as it has accelerated the development and acceptance of new technologies, as well as stronger collaboration across sectors and borders. Sweden, the second most innovative country in the world according to United Nations annual Global Innovation Index, actively supports the global call to action against cancer. Cancer care in Sweden maintains very high standards and stands up well in international comparisons for good outcomes in terms of survival rates in relation to healthcare costs. The Sweden approach to cancer care is rooted in a long tradition of close collaboration and co-creation between healthcare, academia, industry, public sector, and civil society. We have come a long way in regards of cancer care, but there are still many challenges, but more important, also a lot of opportunities. So when I started as the National Cancer Coordinator in Sweden 3 years ago, I saw a need to strengthen cooperation to better integrate cancer research and innovation into healthcare. Therefore, I invited to a meeting that later became the starting point of the innovation hub Vision Zero Cancer. This was at the time done together with AstraZeneca, Elekta, and Stockholm School of Economics, among others. Vision Zero Cancer is a unique milieu for research and innovation, connecting people, organizations from different backgrounds and competences and disciplines, all wanting to move from today's isolated initiative to greater cooperation, all driven by the same vision that no one should die because of cancer, and that more people should live longer and better. This initiative started in Sweden, and our ambition is global. So there is no single answer to the question how cancer can be transformed from a deadly to a curable chronic disease. What we do know is that no one can do it on their own, and that we need to think in new ways and work together. So how can we accelerate our rate of learning, discovery, and innovation to reach the vision? I stop here, and I'm looking forward to this day and the nice program, and it is now my great pleasure to pass over the word to one of our colleagues in Vision Zero Cancer, Dr. Christian Massacesi, Chief Medical Officer and Oncology Chief Development Officer at AstraZeneca. Please, Christian, are you with us?
So, Christian, we just heard Hans Hägglund talk about his own personal motivation to work with cancer. What would you say it is that drives you?
You know, Susanne, when I started as a medical oncologist many years ago, the hope was just to prolong the life of cancer patients. But in the last decades, I have seen such huge progress that today, my hope is really having a cure for every patient, for every cancer patient. And I am confident that we will be there even before that we imagine. I have also another hope, another dream that is seeing more and more broader inclusion and diversity in our clinical trials, and having every patient having the access to cancer medicines that can be transformative for them, independently where are they in the globe.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. That was really inspiring. Now let's hear your presentation. Thank you.
Welcome all, and thank you for the opportunity to speak at today's Swedish Health and Wellness EXPO program, Towards Vision Zero Cancer. From the pharmaceutical research and development perspective, we are aiming high. We want one day to be able to cure cancer. We want tailored, life-changing treatments for each and every patient. That requires us to be innovative. It requires us to be bold, to push the boundaries of science, to take a targeted approach. Let me give you some examples. By understanding molecular pathways in greater detail and recognizing genetic alterations in signaling pathways that control cell cycle progression and cell growth, we can discover and develop novel therapies to treat patients earlier and deliver better outcomes. Another aspect is the targeted therapies, such as hormone therapy, signal transduction inhibition, immunotherapeutics, monoclonal antibodies. And the power of combining these treatments is the way forward to crack some of the hardest to treat tumor types. Very importantly, every cancer patient is different. The vision is to tailor cancer treatments to match patient needs from each single patient. And importantly, we need to have courage, not to fear failure, to follow the science wherever it takes us. We have gained so much knowledge about cancer, and we have learned from clinical research that cancer is not one disease. It is heterogeneous. So we need to ensure we attack it in different ways. At AstraZeneca, for example, R&D teams are working across different scientific platforms, multiple therapeutic areas, and multiple different cancers. We are developing the deepest knowledge of tumor-inducing mechanisms so we can target different ways that cancer uses to survive and grow. It means that we can attack cancer from all angles, and so have a better chance of treating cancers in a more impactful way for patients. If we want to cure cancer, we need to break the typical cycle you see on the left, where the disease progress and regrowth after every initial response to treatments. We need to stop cancer in its tracks by hitting harder, smarter, and earlier. We want to achieve the picture on the right of the slide, where we achieve a long-term survival and hope for a cure. But what does it mean, hit earlier? It is bringing technologies, new technologies, and new approaches that improve detection and testing, and eventually develop impactful therapies for the early setting, where there is more of an opportunity for a cure. Hitting smarter is bringing new treatment options and approaches to enable more personalized approach to cancer care. And hitting harder is to establish foundational medicines across cancer indications that will set a new benchmark in treatment outcomes in terms of deeper responses that ultimately will improve long-term survival. I would like to bring some example from my own company, specifically on how we are hitting earlier. For example, AstraZeneca, along with other companies, are partnering with Grail and Oxford University to evaluate the use of a new multi-cancer early detection test in the NHS. This test in early stage cancer patients will help gain deeper insights into tumor biology and patient outcomes. Today, we see survival rates ranging from 50 to 70% in countries across Europe and in the United States. But the key question to me remains, how can we go even further and reach the 100% survival for our patients? Now, let's step back for a second and understand that before a medicine is approved for use, there are many different phases of development that we have to navigate. One of the most significant, in my opinion, is the R&D clinical trial, the design and the development process of it. If we want to see cancer medicines approved more rapidly, just like with COVID vaccines, we should be focused on creating leaner, faster, and more adaptive clinical trials for the future. We want smarter clinical trials designed to identify the right patients for the study, while also ensuring diversity is maintained. We want adaptive protocols flexible enough to allow to modify the protocol based on the evolving needs of our patients and to increase chances of success and to reduce time. A big advancement, in my view, in this area can be brought by digital solutions. AI and technology to develop patient-centric programs may reduce the burden for patients and can take the experience of being in a clinical trial better. We have seen the move to a more remote clinical trial management during COVID. We should now be thinking of how we can make this the normal to drive down visit times, cost, and the other activities. Finally, real-world evidence. Real-world evidence can really inform and accelerate not only development activities, but also regulatory decision-making. For example, using a post-hoc analysis and real-world endpoints together with stronger patient-reported outcomes, we may increase the confidence in our medicines, and this can allow us to have new treatments available for patients more rapidly. To conclude, here at AstraZeneca, we are leading a revolution in oncology to help redefine cancer care for our patients. And our bold ambition is to provide a cure for cancer in every form. But only through meaningful and deep collaboration with all key stakeholders, we can achieve these ambitions. So thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the program today.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really interesting. And you have talked now about the rapid and strong development in oncology. How do you view the readiness of the healthcare systems to actually implement all the advances and the new treatments that become available?
It is clear one size fits all in cancer care is no longer applicable. So personalized medicine is the new and the promising approach to not to prevent and also to treat cancer. So, however, as you rightly are pointing out, its implementation in healthcare systems, it is probably not ready. Because this will require a very broad societal perspective, including also a deep assessment of economic sustainability of this, and also a strong, clear focus on equal access.
Thank you so much for this inspirational start, both Hans Hägglund and Christian Massakesi.